That.
What is up, everybody? We are here with another little Star Wars episode for you. This one's not exactly special, just a new series that we're going to do with our CEO of Star Wars, our resident analyst, Jared Silverman here. So we've got a Bad Batch breakdown. We are officially halfway through season 2. It has been great so far. But yeah, this is more of our branching off content for you guys. Don't want to be shoving sports down your throat every single day. I know we give you a lot of that content. This is just a little, ease you up, kind of give you something different to watch our content and enjoy. So yeah, I've got Jared here, resident Star Wars consultant, breaking down episodes 7 and 8 of the Bad Batch for you. We're going to start with episode 7, the Clones Conspiracy. Take it away, Jared. Briefly summarize episode 7 for us.
So episode 7 set up a clone conspiracy about the destruction of Kamino and tied that in with a pretty cool plot about the Senate and the Empire beginning to settle in. And the Bad Batch, as anybody who's watched the episode knows, they don't actually show up in this episode. And then spoiler warning, Rex does towards the end. And I gotta say, I like that decision a lot. I thought that was pretty cool to leave them out, to let this plot, this two-part segment of the season, set up. I thought it was pretty cool.
It's been one of my favorite things that they do, where they leave the Bad Batch out for a little bit to let other story arcs develop around them.
Yeah, I appreciated that a lot. This entire episode to me was really, really cool, and it kind of gave me like a taste of what I would have wanted the Phantom Menace to be like when it went for like the political thriller aspect.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then what do you think of episode 8? Could you give us a summary of that?
Yeah, so basically episode 8, we're kind of continuing off of what we had here with the Clones Conspiracy building. Slip has this information. He was a clone that was on the Venator with Rampart when this is all going down. So basically what 7 and 8 are all about is about the clone defense bill, right? We've got this big bill that's in the Senate, or the recruitment bill, something like that. And this is what we're seeing real time. The change from clones to stormtroopers, which honestly has been one of my favorite underlying themes of the Bad Batch, is that it's showing us something that I've wanted to see personally for a long time, which is how we went from clones all the way down to stormtroopers. A completely different design, phased them out and brought in, actual people to accomplish Palpatine's goal of wanting a vaster army that he doesn't really have to train that much and spend much money on, but he can still use them for intimidation purposes. So I think that's great. That's a great underlying theme. But this bill is what really does it. Like, this is the key moment in getting rid of the clone troopers and bringing in stormtroopers. And what's going on is that we have this Senator Churi. She's fighting for the clones, and she's not even opposed to the bill, which I thought was the craziest thing. And it's a lot. It just shows how much of the violence and everything that went on was unneeded, because she wasn't opposed to the bill. She just wanted to add stuff to aid the clone troopers as they were getting phased out. Like, I don't know, maybe that's just me. That doesn't even feel that ridiculous or like any crazy demands are going on. So it was really surprising to me that Rampart was so stubborn and so resilient to going against Churi, as opposed to just seeing what's at stake if she really keeps pushing and digging around and just bending a little bit to giving her what she wants and still passing the bill. So I wouldn't go as far as to say it was a plot hole, because I think there's a way to explain it, but it was definitely an interesting aspect of the show. So yeah, Slip comes into contact with Churi as she's digging around for information on what really happened on Kamino. And because they're all under the assumption that this was like some drastic storm that put Kamino under, even though, spoiler alert, I guess if you haven't watched season 1, but the Empire shoots down Kamino and does basically a mini massacre of all the Kaminoans so that they couldn't make any more clones. So yeah, Churi's snooping around for this info, and as Senator Organa comes into the episode and tells her, which is great, gotta love seeing Organa out there, but he basically says follow the money, and so it always leaves a trail. And then so she's snooping around looking, finds Slip. Slip doesn't want to be found. He had come into contact with, like you said, spoiler alert, Captain Rex, and he wants to get off the Coruscant, but Churi finds him. She's snooping for information. He runs, ends up getting killed by just an anonymous sniper. But before everyone is dead, that Churi gets the information to get aboard the Venator that Rampart was on that, did the destruction of Kamino. and to get files off of there that had the proof, because Slip had backed up the memory on the Venator's hard drive, something along those lines. So, from there, we go, the Bad Batch is here, we got Rex, we got everyone here, and they're all on a mission to help get this information into the Senate before this bill is passed. They get onto the cruiser, Tech gets everything off the computer, everything is downloaded, they make a quick escape. What's cool is that, and I'm sure you enjoyed this part, Jared, I feel like you were someone who would, that they still use stun on all the clone troopers, even though they've been trying to kill them for, 5 years now? Whenever they have to fire back, they still make sure that all their guns are set to stun. That's always been a fun thing, especially Rex still having his guns set to stun. It shows how much they care and just refuse to hurt their brothers, brothers. But that was a cool part to me. So they get off the bridge, they escape, bring it just in time. They bring the evidence just in time to Churi in the Senate. And before she gets the evidence, she brings it up. She's challenging Rampart. They're in a heated debate. And it's going back and forth, but other senators aren't, they're not having it. They think these are senseless accusations, and they want Churi kicked off the Senate pretty much. But they bring the evidence in. Palpatine arrives, and, it always quiets the room and almost sends chills down your spine when you just see Palpatine come up and his Ian McDiarmid making another return to the screen. Gotta love that. So Palpatine comes out, and now the evidence that's being brought by Omega into the Senate, which is weird because you feel like Palpatine would sense that all these people are in the room that, are probably bad guys, but whatever. He just probably chose to ignore them anyways because it doesn't do anything to him. But so she brings the evidence, they play it, and now every senator with Rampart in the room with Palpatine can see the video evidence or the holographic evidence of the Star Destroyers firing down onto Kamino. And now the evidence is there. And I'm sure they're thinking at this moment, Palpatine is in a corner, right? He's not. This is one of my personal favorite part of the episode. He uses his slick Sith ability of manipulation and top-tier dark side gaslighting abilities to just completely mess with everybody in the Senate. And he basically just uses Rampart. He sacrifices Rampart. He says he's a rogue. And he uses this to his advantage by saying how if the clones can follow any senseless order to even destroy their own kind, then they're clearly not fit to be the future of the Republic military. And then he uses that ammo to get the bill passed, and everyone is in disbelief, and they come back and they just basically acknowledge that Palpatine is always steps ahead of them, the same way that he was in the Clone Wars, which is almost what they say. They say in the Clone Wars, he was one step ahead of us. Now he's multiple steps ahead of us. Which he is. He's just so far ahead. You can't beat him if you're just a group of insurgents. We see later it took Luke Skywalker, a Master Jedi, just to take down the Emperor, because you can't do it on your own. And that basically sums up the episode. He gets the bill passed, and this is that monumental moment where you see we're moving off of clone troopers, and we're moving into stormtroopers. This bill is what puts that into motion. And that's a brief summary. That was like a 4-minute rabble, basically, about what this episode does. Jared, what were your thoughts on episode 8? Because you just kind of heard my talking. Let's get over to you and what you think of this episode.
I loved it. I think both of these episodes are fantastic. The political aspects was engaging. I was actually, surprisingly, with 7 and 8, I actually cared a lot about what was happening with the conflict between the senators and Rampart and all. That was pretty cool, and what stances people were taking. And
what do you think on Rampart specifically as a character?
So, I didn't really think much of him. I just think he could have been replaced with any Imperial officer. And then you see him,
right?
Yeah. But then in this episode, he kind of gets pressured by Palpatine and his blue goon. So you kind of feel him like a little freaking out, This guy's kind of struggling to maintain his position, and then he ends up going down following orders, just like a clone would, just like all the clones are.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty cool. I thought it was a pretty good choice to stray away from the Bad Batch in the first episode to set everything up. I like that a lot.
Me too. I agree. They've been good with that this season, where they stray away and they look at other people to set other storylines up, and then they bring them in, and it works just as well because you have everyone kind of meshing together.
And I'm excited to see what they do with that for the second half of the season. To think that this is only halfway through, that amazes me.
Yeah.
We only have upwards to go. And then when Rex and the Bad Batch finally do come in, I mean, it's all fantastic. The part with the Venator was very cool. They made a nice escape off the Venator. Seeing the shipyard was pretty interesting.
It was,
I
yeah.
like that a lot.
That just like a little fun fact for the people who watch the Clone Wars. I guess a little Easter egg there. The two girls, I don't know why I'm blanking on the name right now, but the two
The
girls who were
Martez
in the
sisters.
yes, the sisters that were with Ahsoka in that 3 episode stretch of Episode 7 that I know we all enjoyed so much, right, guys? I know we all enjoyed that episode stretch of Clone Wars so much. But that is the shipyard that they were in, so we can assume and hope for, pray for that they were a casualty of the Empire and they took over their shipyard. Let's hope, right? But yes, just a fun fact. That was where a lot of that ship action took place, was in their garage, pretty much.
So aside from a reminder of that excellent arc from the 7th season of the Clone Wars, what did you think about Echo leaving the Bad Batch towards the end of the episode 8?
Yeah, I can't say I'm surprised that he left in some form, but I am a little surprised that this is the way it happened. I didn't think that this would be the spot or the way that it happened. I was more expecting a dramatic sacrifice, which frankly we might still get because like we were just talking about off screen, when this picks up in Rebels, spoiler alert if you haven't watched Rebels, when we do find Rex again, Echo isn't there, so we have to assume that between now and Rebels, which isn't honestly that far down the road, which is really confusing timeline-wise because Rex looks so different now than he does in Rebels, but chalk it up to I guess it's about 10 years, so I guess with accelerating aging it kind of makes sense. But whatever, I digress. Yeah, we got to assume that in that 10-year stretch something happens, and I'm sure they would want to put it on screen, so I do think we could get a continuation of Echo's storyline later this season. But yeah, I thought it was coming eventually. They haven't given him much of any real screen time, really. Like, he gets brief moments when him and Omega are, like, training, and you see, obviously, him and Omega, very emotional goodbye. He's kind of been her, like, mentor for the most part, because they all do their equal part in training her. So an emotional goodbye there. And he's a cool character. I mean, everyone gets a little nostalgia from those early Clone Wars seasons with him, so it was always cool to see him back. But yeah, they just didn't give him much screen time. It made sense to kind of phase him out. If anyone was going to leave, it should be him. Now, I do hope they don't get rid of anybody else, because now we're down to, like, the core members that nobody really wants to see go. Like, I don't want to see Wrecker or Tech or anything go. Like, don't touch those guys. Leave them alone. But yeah, I mean, I saw it coming. Not mad about it or anything. I think it has its place. It could honestly be beneficial down the line. How about you? What were you thinking when this happened?
So I'm a little happy it happened because as much as I really care about Echo, I just feel like there's too much overlap with him and Tech pretty much doing the same thing.
Right. I think
Tech,
that's probably what they were going for.
And Tech ending up doing more things. Like, we had an episode where he got to do his thing with the speeders, and that was great. We don't really have that much to do with Echo. Now, I do appreciate the character development we got at the beginning of Episode 8. I thought that was a very nice moment with him and Echo at the start and end of the episode. And that made me happy, to see him get a little bit of love, which I don't really think he's gotten that much. But overall, it's going to be a little weird not having him around. We're down to, like, the 3 original guys and then Omega, so I wonder how the dynamic's going to change now.
Omega. And I hate to... Well, I wish... I kind of wish we'd gotten a little pickup from Gunji. Last episode, there was a part of me that was hoping he'd stay with the crew. I'm not going to lie. There was a real part of me that kind of wanted to see him and Omega grow up side by side. Because I think Omega still has a lot of, like, hidden stuff that I don't think we're thinking enough about yet. Could be some real interesting plot developments down the road if they take approaches with Omega that I've heard discussed in other Star Wars circles. So I thought maybe we would tap into some of that with Gunji sticking along. I did kind of hope for that. Not mad about it that it didn't happen, but, kind of interested. But you're right. That's a really valid point. Where are we going now? We have 3 original members left, plus Omega. You hate to think that they're going down the road of weeding them off one by one because eventually they do have to, like, die because they're not around during the original trilogy as far as we know. I would hate to go that route. I really don't want to see it. So you got to think, I mean, we don't know. And there's 2 very different ways they could go with this. Does Echo leave, but Crosshair comes back down at the end of the season? does Crosshair and Echo both die, and in a season 3 we see the rest of them start to get weeded off? I really don't know. It's going to be interesting, but for now, I don't know how the dynamic's going to change. I think they're going to find Cody at one point during the season, and could Cody come on and join? That's another interesting possible development there. So there's a lot that they have to work with, and 8 episodes. Yeah, 8 episodes is plenty of time to.
I mean, look what they did with the first 8 episodes.
So I'm really. Exactly. We got so much done in the first 8 episodes. Lord knows what we could do in the last 8. And I'm sure the finale will be like last one, where it was, kind of, well, what was the last one? Like 50-something minutes, right? It was pretty long, as far as I remember. But yeah, so we got a lot of time left. So they're going to do some interesting stuff there. I'm just not sure. I'm interested to see how the dynamic is going to change. I think it'll be fine because, like, we both agree, Cody, no, oh my God, Echo wasn't the most crucial part of the group. So yeah, do you have any initial prediction for what you think the dynamic is going to be like? Do you think we're going to be missing Echo that much?
I don't really think so, just because he hasn't been that impactful to the season so far. I'm looking forward to maybe having some kind of reunion with Crosshair, but I don't think it's going to last long. I do believe that Crosshair, maybe not this season, but I do believe he's going to die sacrificing himself for the
I do
badge.
believe that also.
Ideally, I'd like to see some more development on Hunter's end, being the group leader. I want to know what he kind of feels about all of this, because he's lost Crosshair, who is.
I would like to see a little more character development there. You're right. We've seen a lot from Tech, really a weirdly amount of development from Tech, but it's cool because I like him. We've seen some from Wrecker. Episode 2, I feel like Wrecker got a lot of love with him and Omega. But not a lot of Hunter stuff since season 1. Maybe they just think we've done enough of Hunter, and like you kind of already get what he is. I wonder if they think that like we just know what he is now, so there's no need. I would hope there's still more to digress, but you're right. So I don't know if we have seen a lot of Hunter that we could get more of.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of seems like a jack of all trades. He seems pretty good at a lot of shit. So I'd like to see him, because he gives off like lone wolf vibes, but I know he loves his family.
Exactly.
And I want to see see them dive into that. I mean, he lost Crosshair, one of his original brothers, and then he found Echo. Echo kind of filled that spot, but now Echo's gone. So maybe they could do something crazy, like he was using Echo as a coping mechanism for losing Crosshair because it stressed him out, and having a full team, a full family meant something to him. And now that that's gone and having to take care of Echo, I mean, that sounds stressful for a group leader, So maybe they could tell us something about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. That's definitely smart. We've both said that what we would like to see and all that stuff, and what we ideally would want to see going forward. But as we move out of more of the summary portion of this video, I think we've kind of given a general recap. I know we're picking up at 7 and 8, but I feel like we've both talked about a fair amount about what we've seen so far. Is there anything you want to add as far as the first 6 episodes go that we haven't talked about yet?
I'm impressed. I mean, I don't mind the occasional episode stepping away from like plot and developing that. Like, I think it's okay to have those episodes, like the treasure hunting episode and the pod racing episode, even though it wasn't like technically pod racing, but I still find it.
They had to work around it because you got to keep Anakin's canon intact. So they really tiptoed around that.
Yeah, but they still ended up making that episode engaging. The treasure hunt was kind of cool because you have like this.
I'm not gonna lie, that was the one episode I didn't like so far.
It's by far the weakest episode. I'm not gonna disagree with you, but I still enjoyed it.
Yeah.
The puzzles were nothing mind blowing, but it was kind of cool. And then whatever that like giant mechanical creature was at the end, that seems pretty important. Kind of weird to just be left there.
I know, and it was like it wasn't the Zillow beast that we got from the Clone Wars, because those were dead and all that stuff. It was like a knockoff Zillow beast. I don't know. That whole episode just kind of wasn't doing it for me. I've loved this season so far, by the way. Honestly, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But like on a great season so far. That was just the one episode where I look at it and I'm like, you're not quite doing it for me right now.
Yeah.
But that's just me. Anything else you think of the first 6?
I was extremely impressed with the episode with Cody and Crosshair, and I know they're going to do something with that for the second half of the season.
You would hope, right?
Yeah. Like, I feel like even Cody could just carry an episode by himself, just him on the
Oh,
run.
100%.
That'd be awesome.
100%. I so agree.
And then
Yeah.
Crosshair,
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't mind an episode with just him too. You know, maybe he
I feel like that's what we're going to
defects.
get. I feel like we're about to get that. I don't
I
know.
hope so. I really hope
I mean,
so.
me too. I do feel like that's coming. It has to at some point.
Yeah, and then something else that I feel is coming is they're going to bring in the Stormtroopers in the next few episodes, and
Mhm.
that's pretty cool. I'd like to maybe see what they do with the clones, because one of the points that I loved about these episodes is humanizing the clones even more than the Clone Wars. You
Yep.
know, they were bred for war, they were made for it, and now they don't have it. What are they going to do? You know,
Agreed.
and I'd love to see that.
I so agree with you. I thought, yeah, really. I mean, after watching these two today, pair that with what I saw in the Gunji episode, pair that with what I saw in episode 3. I mean, the show is starting to make me want to say some bold statements about it, at least with this season, because season 1 was no joke. Like, season 1 was fine, but this show is really, this is another level of Star
Yeah.
Wars content. I don't know. I mean, if we keep going down this path the way that we're going so far, and they finish just as strong as they've started, I could have tune back in because I could have some bold things to say about this show because I've absolutely loved it. I'm not gonna say it now. I don't want to spoil it, but yeah, we'll see if we keep going down this path. Episode, like you said, episode 3, Cody Crosshair, that was all great. Really put Crosshair's skills on display, and kind of showed that he hasn't diminished at all, even after all the injuries he's taken. That he's almost leveled up his game in a certain sense. Cody going AWOL, great to see that. We were just saying we want to see where his arc goes, so that's been good. Always cool to see a lightsaber pop up. I hope Gunji comes back. I really do hope that wasn't the last that we see of him. But yeah, that's kind of my. You had something to say?
I think Gunji's a one and done.
He probably will be realistically,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I like him.
And as for Crosshair, it was cool to see his skills. I'm glad the writers still found a cool way to play around with that. And seeing it, I can feel he's kind of questioning the order, just like Cody is.
Oh, definitely. And that ship
Cody,
is just hanging on for dear life.
Right? Yeah. Exciting things to come from this show. I have my hopes up.
With that being said, to finish off this segment, like I keep saying, we're tossing around what we want to see, what we think, or what we want to see ideally in a perfect world. But based off of these episodes, what realistically do you think will happen in the next? Because we'll keep track of this week by week. This is going to be recurring. But saying it now, what are your initial predictions for these last 8 episodes? What are some things that you think we're going to see, realistically speaking?
So one thing that I'm afraid of is that coming off like something so hot like these 2 episodes, I think they're going to dip back for a second and give us like one of those like chill kind of filler episodes, which, I'm not going to hate on it. I mean, that does kind of seem like what's going to happen next because you just got to take a step back, chill. You can't have all the story right now, But I do sense the Crosshair Cody episode, maybe separate. Maybe they cross paths again. Maybe Cody goes straight for the Bad Batch and we have an episode with the 5 of them together. So I think we have 1 or 2 of those left and then some kick-ass finale, I hope. I know. I'm certain it is going to be a really good finale.
And we're expecting a lengthy finale as well. But I as much as I kind of get a sense of the plot line, like last season, I kind of felt like I knew where it was going and I knew where it would end. And it was still great. Like, obviously, it was great. But right now, I don't know if you agree with this. I don't know what the finale will look like. I don't know what big conflict there is to happen. I just have no sense of where it's going. And honestly, I prefer it that way. I like not knowing what's going to happen. That's what gets me to, tune in every week. But do you have any sense of where the finale is going?
I don't, and I'm very happy that way. I don't know I agree with you. I don't know what conflict they could pull because, I mean, the Empire thinks they're dead. I feel like Stormtroopers will be involved, like an old versus the new, show that once and for all clone troopers kick more ass, even though, I mean, there's no doubt in anybody's mind. I think there's going to be some very satisfying something with Crosshair. I feel like they've kind of left him hanging just a teeny bit after that one episode, which was great. I do want more, and I feel like if by the end of the season we don't get more, then that'll be like wasted potential. So I know he's going to come back
100%.
in the
Unless
finale.
they're really saving a lot of stuff for season 3, but even then, I still feel like
Right.
we should get it now.
Yeah. And that's about it. I don't think Gunji's going to come back. I don't know what they're going to do.
Possibly like, do you think maybe any Rebels characters or Andor characters we might see? I think this is about, if I'm not wrong, this is about Andor time right now. I could be so wrong saying that, but no, I don't know. This is like 5-10 years after Revenge of the Sith, so I don't really know. I guess I'm not 100% sure what's going on. Do you think maybe any other crossovers Gunji-esque? Do you think we could see something like that with a
I
separate
hope
character?
not. I really don't want that
You
to
think
happen.
just leave it at Gunji and
Yeah.
Gunji and Cody and Rex and leave it at that?
Yeah. At most, Ahsoka maybe, but I heard my friend, I was talking with him today after watching the episode, and he was not the biggest fan of Rex coming into the show. And I mean, he was in the last season, and I thought it was a fine inclusion. 'Cause
Yeah,
at its
no,
core,
I gotta agree with you. I gotta agree with
Yeah.
you there. Yeah, this feels like not needed, but definitely fitting. I think it's by no means fan service. Rex has every right to
Right.
be in in something like this because we know that was his role, was to help clones being isolated and help them
Yeah.
defect. We've known that forever. So when Slip is contacting him, I feel like that fits perfectly into his narrative. I don't. That's an interesting take. I completely
I think so
disagree.
too. I mean, I know this show is called The Bad Batch, but it's not about the Bad Batch. It's about every single clone in the entire galaxy. It's about Cody, it's about Rex, it's about Crosshair, it's about the Bad Batch,
Exactly. Yeah.
and it's about every other CT that's just floating out there. You know, all of them have an equal
Mhm.
right to be in this galaxy, and all of them deserve a good ending because they were, I mean, kind of forced into this world to fight. So now it's good to see what's happening with all of them. I mean, Rex, we know what happens with him in Rebels, but we have nothing for Cody. We have nothing for the Bad Batch. And I mean, really, we don't have that much for all the clones that are just about to get phased out.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So as far as my predictions for what we're going to see going forward here, you hit the nail on the head. I can 100% see a filler episode coming in next week. I think it's almost, I'm not going to say needed, but it's a good time. If you're going to put more filler in, now is the time. You just, if we're talking the climax, and we're not at a climax yet, but obviously this was a huge spike up from where we were. So you got to come back down a little bit. Leave a filler in. We still have that whole Sid storyline that's out there from a few episodes back, so I'm sure we're going to probably gear back towards Sid now for a little bit as opposed to the whole Coruscant stuff. So you're right. I think we're going to see more of that. I also agree. I don't know if we should really be getting any more outside cameos. Keep it to clone troopers. I don't even know if Ahsoka really has a place in here, frankly, because she didn't really reconnect with Rex until Rebels, so I don't think she has a place here. So yeah, no more cameos unless it's like a political cameo or something. Obviously if the Bad Batch really does something bad and Palpatine maybe needs a animated Vader to come in and help him, whatever. I don't mind seeing a cameo there, but no more, nothing too crazy. Yeah, but that kind of hits it all on the head, really. I don't think I'm missing anything. We're going to see Sid. We're going to see a filler. I do like the direction this is going. Anything else you want to add before we wrap this up?
One final thought that I think might tie into Sidious sending Vader. Maybe not so much Vader, but maybe finding out that Omega could potentially be Force sensitive. I mean, we saw her meditating.
That's
in
that,
episode
yeah.
8,
Right.
and then sending an Inquisitor.
That's kind of what I was hinting at before, but I didn't want to bring all that up now. That's why I thought maybe we get Gunji to come with us. That's what I was saying. Like maybe Gunji comes with the crew, and I feel like maybe we're talking about Gunji being one and done. Maybe she does find out she's Force sensitive, and the only Jedi they know is Gunji, so they go back to him, and that's how we see him again. So that's kind of what I was trying to hint at earlier. Obviously, I don't want to bring everything out on the table now when we're going to be doing these, every week. But I guess we'll kind of see as this whole arc develop. But Omega being Force sensitive is something I've been suspecting for a while. Because obviously she's such a different clone from everyone else, and she's a one of one. So I obviously would not be surprised. But yeah, you make a good point.
Yeah. I don't know how I necessarily feel about, the clone show having more, force in it, because I'm a huge
Mhm.
I'm a huge advocate for Star Wars being okay without Jedi. You know, you can still have fantastic stories without it, and that's one of the things that I liked about the Bad Batch. But if they do it right, I think I'll definitely be happy with it.
Yeah, I mean, in a 16 episode season, in an extremely fitting role. Obviously, I don't mind them bringing in Gunji for one episode because that's kind of your role as clone still as the Bad Batch is to help people in need. And Gunji being a Padawan, getting trafficked, I don't have any complaints about that, especially if it comes back to mean more later on. Yeah,
Right.
all great points. These have probably been the two best episodes so far, along with episode 3. A great week. Can't wait to see what we've got next week, even if it's filler. Uh, any other closing remarks that I missed before I wrap this thing up?
That about does it for me.
Well, we can just close this on up. This has been a great week. We had 2 great episodes to bring to you some breakdown. As always, thank you to our resident Star Wars consultant, Jared. We will be
Happy to
back
be here.
next Thursday with another breakdown. Hopefully, just as good of an episode next week for us to get some good quality content out to you. But yes, for the rest of the season, we're halfway through. For the rest of this, expect Jared and I to be breaking down some Star Wars content for you. And March 1st, when Mandalorian comes out, boy, do we have stuff planned for that. Possible
We're there.
live stream coming. Possible live stream watch party coming with me, Jared, and Connor, who also did some Star Wars talk with us before. And, God forbid the live stream doesn't happen. We will definitely, at the bare minimum, have a breakdown for you coming out after. So, your Star Wars content is coming. Jared, again, thank you. This has been great. And I will see you next Thursday, my man.
Absolutely, you got it. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Oh, wait. And remember, like, subscribe, notifications on, Instagram, TikTok, link in the description. Spotify now. This won't be on Spotify, but the big episodes are on Spotify. Link in the description. Everything. Keep following us. All right. Now, peace out.
We don't.